Have you ever wondered how Christopher Columbus's voyages shaped our understanding of the world? The enigma around Columbus is one that has intrigued historians and enthusiasts alike. His voyages not only changed the course of history, but also altered our geographical comprehension of the world. This man of mystery and maritime mastery has left an indelible mark on the annals of global history. He thought about it, the influence he would have on generations. So, are you ready to dive deep into this intriguing? Join us as we embark on a journey through time, tracing the footsteps of Columbus. In 1492, Columbus set sail from Spain, but not without facing obstacles. His journey to the sea was as turbulent as the ocean he sought to traverse. Columbus was a man of firm determination and unyielding belief in his mission. He held on to the conviction that he could find a westward route to the lucrative spice markets of Asia, a belief that would eventually reshape the world's geography. Let's turn back the hands of time to understand the struggles Columbus faced in acquiring funding and approval for his voyage. After being rejected multiple times by the Portuguese and Genoan courts, Columbus turned to the Spanish monarchy for support. Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, the reigning monarchs, were initially skeptical of his proposal. The idea of a westward route to Asia contradicted the prevailing wisdom of the time, and the risk seemed too high for the potential reward. However, Columbus was not a man to be easily dissuaded. He appealed to the monarch's sense of adventure, their desire for wealth and their religious zeal. He promised them riches, new territories to conquer, and the chance to spread Christianity to the far corners of the world. It took several years of persistent persuasion and negotiation, but eventually, Columbus won their approval. In April of 1492, the monarchs agreed to fund his voyage, providing him with 3 ships and a crew of about 90 men. Yet, even with the royal endorsement, Columbus faced opposition from his crew. Many were fearful of the unknown, of myths of sea monsters, and the edge of the world. Columbus, however, remained steadfast. He managed to quell the fears of his crew, instilling in them a sense of purpose and the promise of wealth and glory. And so, with the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina, Columbus embarked on a journey that would change the world. His voyage marked the beginning of a new era in human history, one of discovery, exploration, and global connection. But that, dear listeners, is a story for another time. The first voyage was a voyage of discovery. And so, in the year of 1492, Christopher Columbus set sail on a journey that would forever alter the course of history. This voyage, the first of 4, marked the beginning of an era of exploration and discovery, a journey into the unknown. Columbus, an Italian mariner, had convinced the Spanish monarchs Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand to fund his audacious plan to reach the East Indies by sailing west. Equipped with 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina, Columbus and his crew embarked on their journey, guided by the stars and the promise of untold riches. After weeks of sailing, on the 12th of October, land was sighted. It was an island in the present-day Bahamas, which Columbus named San Salvador. The New World, as it would later be known, was discovered. But it was not the East Indies as Columbus had thought. It was a landmass unknown to the Europeans, a land already inhabited by diverse indigenous cultures. These indigenous people, the Tainos, welcomed the foreign visitors with curiosity and generosity. They traded with Columbus and his crew, offering them food, water, and valuable goods. Columbus, in turn, was fascinated by the people and the land, documenting his observations in his journal. Despite the peaceful start, tensions soon arose. The indigenous people were unfamiliar with the European customs and languages, and misunderstandings ensued. Columbus, driven by a desire for wealth and prestige, claimed the land for Spain and took several indigenous people back with him. The voyage back to Spain was fraught with difficulties. The Santa Maria had been wrecked and the crew was exhausted. But against all odds, Columbus and his crew made it back to Spain in March of 1493. They brought with them tales of a new world, exotic goods, and indigenous people, sparking intrigue and excitement throughout Europe. Columbus returned to Spain a hero, with tales of an uncharted world. His voyage marked the beginning of a new chapter in human history, a chapter of exploration, discovery, and unfortunately also of conquest and conflict. But that is a story for another scene. Columbus's subsequent voyages were not just about exploration, but also colonization. This marked a new chapter in the narrative of the New World. The second voyage, embarked upon in 1493, was a much grander affair. 17 ships carried over 1,000 men with a mission to establish a Spanish colony in the newfound lands. The island of Hispaniola became the epicenter of Spanish colonization, with the establishment of La Isabela, named in honor of the Spanish queen. However, the seeds of conflict were sown early. Columbus the explorer now found himself in the role of a governor, a role for which he was ill-prepared. The settlers were discontented with the harsh conditions and the lack of promised riches. Disputes began to arise, both amongst the colonists themselves and between the colonists and the indigenous Taino people. The third voyage, beginning in 1498, revealed more of the South American continent, but it also deepened the conflict. Columbus's governance was marked by tyranny and mismanagement, leading to his arrest and return to Spain in chains. The indigenous people, initially welcoming, were subjected to harsh treatment, forced labor, and diseases brought by the Europeans, leading to a drastic decline in their population. These voyages had profound effects. For Europe, they opened up new trade routes and opportunities for wealth. For the indigenous people of the New World, they brought suffering and upheaval. The clash of cultures was inevitable and often brutal, with the European colonizers imposing their ways and beliefs on the indigenous societies. Yet, it was also a time of transformation. The world as it was known was expanding. Ideas, cultures, and even flora and fauna were exchanged in what is now referred to as the Columbian Exchange, reshaping societies and ecosystems on both sides of the Atlantic. Columbus's voyages were not without controversy, as the clash of cultures led to conflict and upheaval. The exploration and discovery were marred by colonization and conflict, painting a complex picture of this pivotal period in human history. The final voyage marked the end of Columbus's era of exploration. In 1502, Columbus embarked on his fourth and final voyage. This time he set sail with the goal of finding a westward route to the Orient. However, the journey was fraught with challenges, even more so than his previous expeditions. The voyage was beset by fierce storms, treacherous seas, and hostile natives. Despite these adversities, Columbus and his crew pushed onward, driven by the spirit of discovery that had led them across the Atlantic 3 times before. The challenges didn't end with the weather and the natives. The ships Columbus commanded on this voyage were far from the best. They were old and worn, and before long, they began to show their age. Shipworms ate through the hulls, and Columbus was forced to beach his vessels on the coast of Jamaica, where he and his crew were stranded for over a year. But even amidst such hardships, Columbus remained unbroken. He managed to keep his crew together, maintained peace with the natives, and eventually, through a combination of diplomacy and ingenuity, managed to secure rescue. Finally, in 1504, Columbus returned to Spain, thus marking the end of his era of exploration. His return, however, was not a triumphant one. Columbus was not given the hero's welcome he might have expected. Instead, he returned to a kingdom that had grown disillusioned with his promises of gold and riches. Yet, despite the challenges he faced and the controversy that surrounded him, Columbus's voyages forever changed the course of history. His explorations opened the door for the widespread European exploration and eventual conquest of the Americas. His voyages marked the beginning of sustained interaction between the old and new worlds, shaping the world as we know it today. Columbus's era of exploration ended, but his legacy continues to shape our world. The voyages of Columbus were more than just journeys across the sea. These were groundbreaking expeditions that forever changed the course of human history. Columbus's first voyage in 1492 brought him to the New World, a landmass unknown to Europeans at the time. This monumental discovery, although marred by the tragic consequences for indigenous peoples, undoubtedly altered the world's geography and set the stage for centuries of exploration and colonization. His subsequent voyages were equally significant. The second and third voyages saw the establishment of European colonies in the New World, marking the beginning of a new era of global interaction and conflict. These voyages were not without their challenges, however. Columbus faced opposition from both the native inhabitants of the lands he claimed and his own men, underscoring the complexities of these historical events. The fourth voyage, deemed the end of an era, was a testament to Columbus's indefatigable spirit of exploration. Despite numerous setbacks, he remained dedicated to his quest for new routes and territories, leaving an indelible mark on the annals of exploration. To summarize, the voyages of Columbus were far more than seafaring adventures. They were pivotal events that shaped our world's culture, geography, and history. They sparked an age of discovery, ushered in colonial times, and set the stage for the world as we know it today. In understanding Columbus's voyages, we gain a deeper insight into our shared global history. That's a wrap for today, folks. If you enjoyed, tap that like button. Don't miss out on the fun. Subscribe to stay tuned. The excitement is just beginning.